So color comes really as a result of having traveled. At the beginning in 1960, 1970, when I was a young student, everything was black and white. Film for camera was black and white. I drew in black and white. I was never a painter. I was a sculptor. I made things with stone, with metal, things. So my colors were limited to materials. It's only after I spent a long time traveling in Australia, in Central Africa, sometimes in South America, that I discovered how color was being used on outsides of buildings, in daily life. And so color arrived from a certain type of travel, and it stayed with me all the time, this sort of color. So geometry was something which, as a young boy, I always enjoyed mathematics, for example, geometry, trigonometry, but I was not good at it. And I was always interested in form, architecture, in construction, in everything to do with how you build something up and make something. And with this comes a certain symmetry, a certain geometry every time. So I was fascinated by how things work. And this means every time I draw, there is a sort of assembling of something. There is a building of something. There is a putting together. And so geometry, construction, all became part of this. Therefore, my system of drawing, my way of drawing, always comes out as a sort of construction, as opposed to a random idea which is more morphic and more sensual, let's say. As I described, I was never painting, I was always starting as a sculptor. Everything you see here on the walls in the drawings is made of pigment. It's made of pastel. Pastel is a dry, basically a powder. And it's very fragile. So when we make the big drawings inside buildings, not on the outside, when I work on the exterior of buildings, I have to paint, I use a paint. But everything like this is when you take the pigment, you put it on the wall, and then you massage with your, everything is massaged by hand. All these drawings you see are with the finger, with the hand, and like this. So there's a massaging. Of course, you can put a piece of tape here, which means when you bring the color and you take away the tape, you have a straight line. You don't go onto here. But it's always massaged pigment on the walls.
Hand is a brush.
Oh, your hand is a brush, and if you remember, as sculptors, we would bang a chisel like this, or we would make things in clay, or we'd make things with our hands. I'm still making it on the wall with the hand.
A David le conocí a través de la Galería Alfonso Artiaco de Nápoles. Yo colaboré con esta galería durante un tiempo. Había realizado algunas exposiciones minimalistas que tenía Alfonso, y un día me lo presentó y me dijo: Miguel, ¿por qué no trabajas con este artista, a ti que te gusta esta línea de pintura y tal?
Making works in situ, so on the wall, on the ceiling, whatever, it allows me to expand my smaller drawings. What you see in this exhibition are all like a maquette of some sort. They are the ideas which surface in the mind. And the pleasure of working on the wall or on the ceiling is like I'm making it a big thing. Finally is the chance to make it bigger, because I like to work in a space. And it comes back to my crazy idea of sculpture, of making. So I worked in old buildings, and the wonderful chance there is that you have an older environment. The ceilings, the walls are of a certain nature, and I can introduce something which is relatively new, to it, but you have to complement it. You have to be sensitive to it. You have to understand that the ceiling is of a certain nature, the floor. Try to find a combination of what I do and what exists, whereby you get some sort of harmony. You don't want a clash of, I really have no idea to do something which is disturbing the space. And so, yeah, there is this, with all the drawings, I have to find these solutions. That's part of the work of an artist, to try and find a good solution for wherever you work. So I think the role of the gallery is constantly changing. You know, in the early 1960s and 1970s, there was a relationship, in fact, which is what I have with Miguel. It's this, we have a sort of strange thinking which is similar. And so, I don't know, Miguel is old school, we say. He's old school, but in my view, it's the best school. But the most important thing is that you are still able to create.